To start with understanding why the characteristics of our employee is different, I'll take it a step back and explain the unique perspective that I think we brought into the company, and then we hired accordingly. So to go a step back about myself, I started off, or was introduced to the cyber world in the military. The military has, and I was talking about it before, has a very black box orientation for, let's talk about the more offensive side. Military, intelligence agencies, doesn't matter. Anything state level has a very offensive oriented side about cybersecurity. Now, the bad thing about being purely offensive is that you have zero understanding what's happening on the other side. When you attack something, you succeeded or you failed. Now, you might know technically why something failed because you circumvented it. But hypothetically, if I try to move from point A to B and I was successful, maybe there wasn't a guard there. Maybe there was, but he was asleep. Maybe he looked at me, but he froze. I don't know. I don't have the ability to analyze what went wrong or right. I just know that I moved from point A to B and the guard didn't do anything. I'm good to go. I move on. I'm interested in what I'm interested in the attack. That's a perspective that a hacker would have. Does A work, yay or nay? From an organizational perspective, did Johnny see this and call someone? He doesn't know. They don't analyze organizational perspective. They analyze technology. There's a rule in the firewall. Can I pass it? Yes or no. There's an anomaly detection system. Can I do something without creating an anomaly? Yes or no. But again, if an alert popped up and the analyst was looking at it but didn't understand what he was seeing, the hacker couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you if there did pop up an alert or not, or why he didn't report it. He doesn't care. If he was reported, he'll try something else. If he didn't, he'll move on. Law enforcement, which is my second segment in life, was an eye-opener for me personally, and I think for anybody who deals with it, because when you investigate post-mortem, it's all about understanding what exactly went wrong. Was the guard asleep? Did he see it and freeze? Why did he freeze? Why was he sleeping? Did he not have enough hours before? Is he working too long? It's about a very, very deep analysis of what went wrong in every single junction. But it's only when you combine the two that you can really understand defense. You need to understand what attackers do when they attack. Then you need to have a very profound analysis of what went wrong statistically in hundreds and hundreds of cases. And then you can start finding out, you know what? Okay, this gives a unique perspective. If I understand A and I understand B, I can create defense that's effective. Because I know that 99% of the time, the guard fell asleep. Then even though a hacker would focus on technology, I would say, okay, guys, we need to revisit how many hours a day this guard is working, because believe me, from 99% of the times, the problem is they end up falling asleep. But that's a perspective that's very, very unique, of course, metaphorically speaking, very, very unique to bring in. To be able to say, look, guys, the process and procedure you put in place is phenomenal, but nobody will ever follow it. You can only say that with certainty if you've investigated about 100, seen it written, and then have the people explain to you why they didn't follow it, even though they got attacked. Because you know what? It's a low-level analyst. They got attacked at Friday at 4 o'clock in the morning. The procedure said call the CEO. And he said, I'm not calling the CEO at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't care what happened. I'm just not doing it. It's a huge organization. There's no way I'm waking the guy up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So why is that what's written in the procedure? Because a technical guy wrote it. That unique perspective of having the deep, deep technological point of view, but then also having the real life, okay guys, but what really happens in real life, what works and doesn't work, only when you put that together can you have valid defense. That was CyberHat SOC. With that in mind, those are the people we hired. We have very strong state-level experience, private sector experienced hackers and crackers, but we also have very strong state-level experienced investigators. We literally hired an entire two teams out of the government that worked in police investigation forensics for computers. All the guys did was investigate post-mortems for incidents that happened around the world. Well, around the world was relevant for the military, all right? It's not the typical kind of person you'll find in a SOC, ironically. People either want super hackers, which are excellent for hacking and are actually excellent for designing. They help write the flight guides and run books. They help us design what to look for, where and what. And then you need a certain different skills to be the guys doing the investigation when alerts pop up. Guys who've seen hundreds and hundreds of incidents, and they know. They know that if A, B, and C happened, forget what everybody's saying. 99% of the time, here's what it means, and they know straight to go look for it. Of course, it's all written, there's all process procedures, they follow it, it's a methodical process. But that's what difference between a guy who reads and does what he's told, and a guy who reads and does what he's told, but understands what he's doing. Deeply understand what he's doing. He understands the technology, understands the platform. So per your question, extremely difficult to find those skill sets. We hire guys that come with 4, 5, 6 years of experience from military or intelligence agency. You got to understand 4 years of experience in the military is like 10 years in the private sector, sheerly because you don't work 9 to 5. Military owns you when you work for them and you work. That's all you do. Plus, predominantly, you work in an environment that's a lot more active. They hugely attacked. You get incidents from the lowest level to the craziest, highest level. You finish very intense 4 years like that, you're very, very well experienced. You got some nice notches under your belt. We bring those guys in, they go through 6 months of training. Because that's fine that they have the skill set, they know what they're doing, but we give them a 6 months training for what we call Cerebro certification, just to get them up to par about the private world. So you got to remember, you work in the intelligence agencies and the military, you don't necessarily understand the business side of a global bank or of an international retail company. And you have to understand the business side if you're investigating. You have to understand that a server talking to China at 3 o'clock in the morning is super weird in the army, but it's very common for an American retailer. They work with China. So before you ring all the bells, you have to understand the business behind it as well. Understand technology, understand investigation, and understand the business, you have a very, very good analyst.